Hi, and welcome to the One True Church. I'm Hugh Whitmore. Today's Bible instruction is entitled, The Tree of the Knowledge of Good and Evil, the key to how Satan controls the earth. I hope you're doing well and serving God daily. The church is growing in size and in power, and we have the ability to bring Jesus back. So keep working on your faith in a joyful manner. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil is mentioned in Genesis 2:9, right along with God's tree of life. These two trees represent opposites, life and death, truth and lies. But the trees aren't real, they're metaphors for the methods God and Satan use to create spiritual energy in the fight to control all of creation. The Bible calls this energy glory. The tree of life represents God's method, which is that he is strengthened when his elect and righteous obey and glorify him by worshiping the truth of his eternal word, as sent through Jesus. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil represents Satan's method, which is that Satan is glorified when his followers use lies to deny God's eternal word, which is actually done in a purposeful blending of truth and lies in all public things, which is why Satan's tree is called two things, both the knowledge of good and evil, as the dark forces blend the two to serve their evil prince. This method of blending truth with lies creates this swirling satanic energy all around us in the world. If you're a believer, I assume you can feel this evil energy as I do. I certainly do. I assume that even those who are not followers of the one true God and his Son can feel the dark energy in this declining world. God spoke to Adam about this evil tree in Genesis 2:16-17. Of every tree of the garden you may freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat, for in the day that you eat of it, you shall surely die. Now Adam and Eve ate from the tree and they didn't die. So what did God mean by die? We all die, don't we? We do now, but we didn't before Adam and Eve. God's original creation was eternal and had no death in it until humans accepted the powerful dual method of this evil tree. So now the glory of Satan reigns supreme. Evil rules this short mortal life, and all flesh dies. Glory is power, and Satan, by his method of blending truth and lies, has been able to steal glory from God and control God's entire earthly creation, as Luke 4:5-6 shows when Satan tempted Jesus. Then the devil, taking him up on a high mountain, showed him all the kingdoms of the world in a moment of time. And the devil said to him, "All this authority I will give you, and their glory, for this has been delivered to me, and I give it to whomever I wish." There you have it. Satan runs this place. So you have to set your mind on the power that our loving Father has given us to overcome this state of affairs in the universe. The reason evil is all around us is because every institution on the earth is run by those who serve Satan. Government, military, media, business, education, entertainment, sports, medicine, religions. But not this church, because we are God's elect and righteous, and we know the narrow path. We've turned from the false prophet and false apostle Paul, and we serve only the one true God and his Messiah. The evil satanic energy is so pervasive that it binds all people together unknowingly on the earth in Satan's grasp. It bends all thoughts to a false reality. This is why Revelation 12:9 says that Satan deceives the whole world. It's Satan's system that runs the whole world in the background and keeps Satan in control of God's stolen kingdom. Jesus taught us to protect us in the parable of the wheat and the tares in Matthew 13:24-30, that good will be forced to live alongside evil on the earth until the end of the age when he returns with the Father's angels. But it's more than just the fact that good and evil are present in the same place. The dark forces that run the earth rig all of human existence. In all public things, they falsely present a truth, which gives people the false belief that something of a good nature exists on the earth as the primary force. But then, by their manipulations of all society, through their satanic media, they overcome their false presentation of truth with lies to create a constantly repeating ritual that mocks and overcomes God's eternal law. This rigged game creates the glory, or spiritual energy, Satan bragged about in Luke 4, 5, and 6. The Satanists run this one pattern only, and the pattern exists within every popular institution. It's good to know all of this, but don't be upset by it. My hope is to keep you spiritually involved in the end times fight, to help God overcome Satan and send Jesus back for all of us. Let's start with the corruption of God's church. The truth of God's plan of salvation does exist, of course, we know that. And it's in the works-based teachings of Jesus that include the Ten Commandments. If this truth were followed by enough believers, Jesus would return, and all of these evil people would be destroyed along with the earth. But the Satanists steal God's truth by inserting the false apostle and false prophet Paul into the Bible. Paul's lie that salvation is created by the magic of something called grace turns believers away from God's real salvation that is earned by our glorifying works. Thus, the truth is present, but the lie is victorious for Satan, and Jesus does not return. Next, we have sports. Sports offer up as a truth that they have rules that are followed by their superheroes to bring home the win for their adoring fans, when in fact, all sports are rigged. Each game is steered to a predetermined conclusion based on stealing money, you bet, and to build larger-than-life heroes that in turn make you so attached to the sport that you spend in bet even more. These rules are the false presentation of the truth, but cheating is so normal, so accepted by the fans, and so overlooked by the officiating that the rules can't be determined at all. I defy you to define the rules in sports from what the officials call in a game. What is a strike in baseball? What is holding or pass interference in football? What is a foul in that mess they call basketball? What is tripping or hooking in hockey? Looks like it happens on every play. What is time wasting or dissent in soccer? I think you're getting my drift here. Penalties could be called on every play in every sport, and it's so obvious that the fans scream for those penalties, but penalty after penalty after penalty is overlooked by the officials until they need a penalty on a crucial play that will turn the game into the predetermined rigged direction that they've set out that day. Thus the Satanists present the rules in sports as truth, but the disdainful regard for the rules by the officials until certain moments so that they can steer games to predetermined conclusions makes the lie victorious for Satan. Next is crime. Satan's followers offer up as a truth the criminal law and its punishments as the backbone for protecting society, but they ignore the laws, thereby creating criminal anarchy in society. They hire too few police to prevent crime, which gives criminals a free pass to commit any crimes they want to. They ignore the punishments in the law when sentencing the few criminals they do catch, which encourages criminals further. The death penalty for murder, for example, which is a hard and fast rule of the one true God, is very rare on earth today, making murder a more and more popular crime. All of this is done on purpose to make innocent people suffer for Satan's purposes. Thus in crime, like sports, the dark force offers up laws as if they are truth, but they do not enforce those laws. Thus the lie is victorious for Satan. Now on to war. The dark force has laws against war, international laws, but they do nothing when wars are started, because war is an important satanic ritual. Wars are just as rigged as sports. Both warring parties agree to rig up political strife to create the conditions for war. Then the wars are not fought to be won, but to kill and injure as many people as possible on both sides and destroy as much property as possible, all in the name of glorifying Satan. The current war between Russia and Ukraine is a good point here on this case. Russia has over 10,000 tanks and thousands of long-distance missiles and could have taken over Ukraine in a couple of days. Yet they didn't use their armaments as they could, and instead they bring great destruction upon their own military, as well as the Ukrainians, which is just as was agreed beforehand between both leaders, Putin and Zelensky, who are not enemies. They are both high-ranking satanic believers. So in war, the Satanists offer up international laws on war as if they are the truth, but they do not enforce those laws. Thus many people die, and the lie is victorious for Satan's glory. I'm running now a little long on this presentation, so I'll wrap up by saying all structures of mankind on the earth are rigged in the same way as described in the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. More examples are traffic and drunk driving laws are not enforced, which brings road rage and millions of deadly accidents. Each year, wildfires that could be easily stopped burn millions of acres with no opposition by the government. Millions die from chronic diseases each year that are caused by the poisons allowed by the government in food, water, and medicine. Governments pretend to have opposing parties who are in reality playing false roles to fulfill Satan's purpose of bringing more and more sin to the earth each year. Climate change is being created on purpose by geoengineering. Billions of illegal robocalls are dialed to anger you and ruin your day, and millions of scam emails and texts are sent in an effort to steal your money. All of this is allowed on purpose by the enemies of God. If you're feeling overwhelmed by the state of earthly affairs, please don't, because as God's elect and righteous, we have the complete power within us to overcome every bit of this daily manipulation. God has given us the power by His plan of eternal salvation that He sent with Jesus to overcome the entire world. You have the power within you to turn this all around for God. Turn from the false teachings of Paul. Live and preach the kingdom teachings of our protector and Messiah, Jesus of Nazareth. Fast and pray regularly for the Father, and God will be empowered to overcome sin and Satan. Then He will destroy the earth and all of the people who run it, and deliver to His church a renewed eternal world that He will share with us forever.